hit the stage, the harder that the crowd begins to raise. The people in the chairs all take a stand. We're rocking and rolling for the son of man. Rocking and rolling, yeah.
Shalom! I'm the new Messianic Torah dude. You're probably wondering how this all came to be, so let me tell you.
I bet my YouTube channel.
Call.
3 of a kind.
4 aces. Beat that.
Read 'em and weep. All red cards.
Josh.
Is that not good? Shalom. I'm no longer allowed to call myself the Messianic Torah dude. In fact, I have to pay a quarter every time I say it, so I'm a guy who likes Torah and Yeshua. And this week's Torah portion is Toldot. And Toldot means family history and comes to us from Genesis chapter 25 verse 19 through 28 verse 9. And a major part of this week's Torah portion is 2 brothers feuding over a birthright. And this feud begins actually in Genesis chapter 25 verse 24. When her days to give birth were completed, behold, there were twins in her womb. The first came out red, all his body like a hairy cloak, so they called his name Esau. Afterward, his brother came out with his hand holding Esau's heel, so his name was Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. Now, Rebekah had twin sons, and inside the womb they were fighting. They were essentially fighting to see who would be born first, and thus receive the birthright. But not only the birthright, but also the promise that was passed down from Abraham to Isaac, and was now going to be passed down to Isaac's firstborn son. And that's why Jacob was born holding on to Isaac's heel, because he understood the importance of that birthright and the importance of that promise. In fact, we may be able to think that Isaac used every opportunity he had to try and get that birthright for himself.
Well, this week's Torah portion is Toldot. I Toldot you what? Crack myself up.
Guy who's giving me his YouTube channel says what?
Huh?
Foiled again.
So, as I was saying.
Now, in Genesis chapter 25, verses 29 through 34, we actually see Jacob getting the birthright away from Esau. Once, when Jacob was cooking stew, Esau came in from the field, and he was exhausted. And Esau said to Jacob, "Let me eat some of that red stew, for I am exhausted." Therefore his name was called Edom, which means red. Jacob said, "Sell me your birthright now." Esau said, "I am about to die. Of what use is a birthright to me?" Jacob said, "Swear to me now." So he swore to him and sold his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and lentil stew, and he ate and drank and rose and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. Now it's interesting, in this passage we see this phrase, thus Esau despised his birthright. And this word despise means to hold in contempt, or to show disrespect, or to treat something as worthless. He thought so little of his birthright that he traded it for a simple bowl of soup. This kind of helps us understand what our priorities are. You can learn what your priorities are by what you're willing to sacrifice for what. I may love tacos, but if somebody offers me KFC, then I'm going to skip the tacos for the KFC because I prioritize KFC over tacos. What we prioritize is what we allow to force other things out, what we allow to take time away from other things. In Matthew chapter 16, verses 19 through 21, Yeshua tells us, "Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. This passage helps us understand that we need to make a conscious choice of what we're prioritizing, what we're treasuring, what we're valuing, what we're allowing to force other things out. Esau allowed his hunger and his stomach to take priority over his place as a firstborn son. He allowed his birthright to fall by the wayside when compared to simple temporary comfort and pleasure.
In this portion, we see Isaac, and he starts out... and
Hey, I'll give you some candy if you give me my YouTube channel back.
Is it red lentil flavor?
Oh, who eats red lentil? Oh, what? No, oh. As followers of Yeshua, we are called to do the exact opposite. In Matthew chapter 16, verses 24 through 26, Yeshua says this, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. Whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Or what shall a man give in return for his soul?" Our treasure should be in heaven, and our focus should be on things that are eternal. We shouldn't let worldly pleasures and worldly comforts take us away, take priority, and force out our desire to be obedient to the Lord and to follow the word of the Lord. Sometimes, though, we're not pulled away because of things that we prioritize. Sometimes what pulls us away are distractions. We live in a world that's full of distractions. By the way, you can follow me on Twitter at NoXInExpresso. Sorry, what was I talking about? Distraction, that's right. We live in a world that's full of distraction. We live in a world where we've got a million bleeping, blooping computers and video games and social media and a million channels on TV and all of these things vying for our attention and trying to pull our focus and pull our attention away from the eternal things. As followers of Yeshua, we have to sometimes daily, sometimes hourly, make an attempt to shift our focus from all of the things that are clawing for our attention and trying to pull our attention away from these eternal things, but also from things that want to take priority in our lives. Esau might not just have been willing to sell his birthright for a bowl of soup because he thought lowly of it. It may have been because that was the most pressing thing. That was the fire that needed to be put out, was his hunger. It was a distraction that forced all other thoughts out of his mind. And because Esau did not take that time to recalibrate, did not take that time to renew his focus where it needed to be, he ended up selling his birthright for a bowl of soup. In Colossians chapter 3, verses 1 through 4, it tells us this: "If then you have been raised with Messiah, seek the things that are above, where Messiah is seated at the right hand of God. Set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are on earth. For you have died, and your life is hidden with Messiah in Adonai. When Yeshua, who is your life, appears, then you also will appear with him in glory." The first step to shifting our focus from worldly things, from temporary things to eternal things, is realizing when our focus is off. So what are some ways that we can restore and maintain our focus on Yeshua, the author and perfecter of our faith? Let me know in the comments, and if we gave you a laugh, give us a like, and if you learned something, give us a share. I think I figured out a way that I'm going to get my channel back. But until then, shalom, and stay in the Word.
So we see Isaac coming to the wells that the Philistines had filled up with his
did you know that they're popping bubble wrap out there?
Bubble wrap!
Back!
weren't recording.
No, I didn't have the microphone on. Okay, so that last take
was a good one, though.
that last take was perfect, and you can blame me for. Okay, so everybody's new job is to say, Josh, do you have the microphone turned on?
Josh.
Yeah, the microphone.
I have the microphone turned on. This is why I need people helping me.